our speaker tonight is running for
Congress, U.S. Congress.
U.S. Congress, sorry. This is kind of fun. This is one of the fun things about doing these meetings is I didn't know he existed until yesterday afternoon, and now he's here. So he's running against Nathaniel Moran, who I'm sure there's people out there that think he's done a wonderful job, but I'm with the John Birch Society. I think I mentioned that. And his scorecard is a 50%, which means
that's correct.
He is voting with the Constitution half the time. For contrast, Jasmine Crockett, when she was a state rep, had a 60.
Right,
score.
right.
I'm sure it was by accident, but she did. She got a 0 now.
Let's clarify, she's a Democrat.
Yeah, she's
correct.
a Democrat. And there are, I haven't looked lately, but last time I looked, there were Democrats with higher scores than Republicans, according to the Freedom Index.
That is correct.
So anyway, we're going to do this a little bit different, I think. I don't know. I kind of like the idea of question and answer. Maybe not first.
100%.
You'll do it that way?
Yes,
Let's
absolutely.
do it that way. So, does anybody have questions for Ryan before he even tells us about himself?
I do.
Wait, if you say tell us about yourself, that doesn't count.
No.
Okay.
What I'd like to know is, why do you want to run?
Yeah, that's a great question right there, and that's really what would start me into everything. And so, I've told my wife this, and I told my employees this. I told my 2 boys this. I don't want to do this. I feel I must do this. I feel like it has to be done. I just spent the last 4 years in prison. I was locked up for January 6th. I got pardoned on January 20th of this year and released after 4 years. I was down in Beaumont at the medium security facility down there, and then got transferred to the low security the night after Trump won the election. They said, get everybody out of here and get them over there and get them ready to be released. They knew 2 months prior that we were going to be released. I've watched levels of corruption. I've watched levels of satanic evil that you couldn't even imagine. And so when I came back home and I realized that what they're going to start doing to me here soon online, and I can take. They just did this to me the last 4 years. They tried to kill me. They tried to destroy my life. They took my family from me. They didn't let my kids see me. They forced the COVID vaccination on me. I was in solitary confinement for 2 years. I'm doing this because I can take what they're about to do. They've tried to break me and they can't. And so now I'm going to break them back. And I'm going to be your voice. And so that's why I'm running. I'm running because I know that most of you want to and your heart's in it, but you can't. I'm going to do that for you. I'm your voice. Like we just talked about, I'm glad that you mentioned it. I saw 62% of the time. You're seeing 50% of the time. Either one is bad. It should be 100% of the time when you're voting towards the Constitution, and it should be Constitution constituent. And that's what I'm about. And if I'm not 100% Constitution and constituent, I ask you to be up here and drag me back to the front of this room and put your foot up my rear end and say, what are you doing? Okay, so that's why I'm doing this. Does that answer your question? Yes, sir. Does anybody else have any questions for me before we get started? Yes, ma'am.
Can we ask you what you went to jail for?
Absolutely. So I was in prison for January 6th. I had an obstruction, the 1512. I also had an assault on an officer. I assaulted an officer that was killing a woman. And so I tried to save her life. She died right there. She died moments later. There was a woman that I saved. Her name was Victoria White. She didn't die because I did assault those officers. We were able to get her out of the tunnel, and 15 minutes later, another woman, Roseanne Boylan, did get killed in that same exact spot where we were dragging women out of the tunnel. And the woman that I watched, the reason that I sprayed the officer because he was spraying me. The reason that I did that is I learned in the Marine Corps, I took an OC spray course, and I learned continuum of force. And the continuum of force said, when deadly force is being used against you, no matter who it is, you have a right to defend yourself and defend others and use the same reasonable force against them. The government taught me this. Okay, and so when I was getting sprayed and when she's screaming, the officer beat her 38 times with his fist and with the collapsible asp. He tried to kill her in that hallway. And so as I watched that happen, I knew instantly I can't leave. I'm used to doing hurricane search and rescue. I don't know if y'all know that about me. I was featured on the Ellen DeGeneres show about 5 to 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago for the work that I did in Florence, North Carolina. We saved lots of people, but it was the dogs that we saved that got us featured and went viral. So I save people. When I hear help, I run to it. And that woman was yelling for help, and I ran to her. And so that is, I had an assault charge. This is actually the first time that I'm ever able to speak on my own behalf. I've never been able to tell that story to anybody. I was never able to tell it in court. I had to sit there for 4 years and listen to the government tell me that I came there to assault officers to overthrow the government of the United States, and that just didn't happen. And I was coerced and forced by the government into a guilty plea where I can prove entrapment. The United States government, FBI, confidential human sources, entrapped me years prior to January 6th. I can prove it. I have the receipts, but I'm not allowed to show this because if I show this information, I'll be thrown back into prison. And so that's another reason why I'm running, just to give you more clarification, is because people want answers. I want to give you the real answer, but I can't because I'm bound. And so I can't even tell you the truth about why I was in prison. I want to show you. And if I showed you the actual video evidence, the 44,000 hours that they withheld from you, it would blow your mind. It would shock you. You would be very, extremely upset. And the information and the evidence, the data that we have, it would blow your mind of the evil and corruption. But I had an assault. I ended up pleading guilty to that. I pled guilty to 7 to 8.5 years, and they said if you don't take this guilty plea of 7 to 8.5 years, we will get you for 15 to 20. And at that point, everybody going through for January 6th was a 99.9% conviction rating. And so I worked the best deal that I could, worked them and showed about the confidential human sources. The government, and we'll get to that later, but the government lied about that. They told me that these confidential human sources didn't exist, that I was crazy. They called me a conspiracy theorist. The judge said, don't bring those baseless conspiracy theories into my courtroom. A couple of weeks before we were pardoned, my family started getting information and my attorney started getting information from the United States government. Hey, there's some things that we forgot to tell you. There's some things that we left out. There was actually multiple confidential human sources that were waving your client into the window, that were doing this, that were doing that day, that handed him the spray bottle. So, yeah, there were when Congressman Clay Higgins says that there were people everywhere that day, I'm telling you they were everywhere that day. So I got an assault. I had to fight it. I had a great attorney. His name was Joseph McBride, and I had another one. His name is Brad Geyer, and they fought for me, and they fought tooth and nail, and was able to get me, I say a good deal. 7 to 8.5 years was a good deal. And I went in there, pled guilty, and against a statement of facts that weren't true, and the entire time facing solitary confinement. So in the D.C. jail, it was solitary confinement. We were in a cell 10 foot by 7 foot for 23 to 36 hours at a time, and we could come out for 1 hour per day, or during that 23 to 36 hour time frame. So you would come out for 1 hour just to shower, heat up your food in the microwave, call your wife, and have just enough time to get back into your cell. And you're in a single cell, and I was in there for 15 months in a single cell, 23 hours a day, 16.
That was unconvicted.
And that was, yeah, I wasn't convicted of anything. I was a pretrial detainee, and I'm supposed to be deemed innocent until proven guilty, but I was being punished the entire time. Yes, ma'am.
Just real quick, I was curious, what police was that? Capitol Police?
Capitol Police and MPD. They were both mixed in there together, Capitol Police and MPD.
Because the MPD seems to be the ones that were really, really, really bad.
100%. And that's what I really want to point out. When I go back and I look at the film that day, yes, sir.
MPD is Metro Police Department. Did you say that?
Yes, sir. Metropolitan Police Department, and there is a difference between Capitol Police, MPD, National Parks and Services up there. Capitol Police, they have a job to do, but they weren't the aggressors that day. MPD were the aggressors, and we found, but some of the MPD were probably compromised as well. I know that goes deep down a rabbit hole, but yes, sir.
44,000 hours of video, is that going to be released?
That's a great question right there. So backstory to that. At first, they said there was only 14,000 hours of footage. Me and my attorney and a couple of other group of guys inside of there found that they were hiding evidence and they were adding a couple of videos per day. And so when I say a couple, when you look in there and there's 18,000 videos, 18,376, but then there's 18,997, and I said, wait a second, something's wrong here. So then we start, there were some guys in there were some very intelligent individuals, and so we would start annotating everything. Sure enough, we started catching the government on exculpatory Brady violations of not giving us information. So we would go into court and say, hey, we had this many hours. Now we have this many hours. What's going on? And I spoke on the record, I believe it was in June or July of 2022 for the first time after spending about a year and a half. And I said, hey, you're withholding information from us. You're violating my due process rights. And finally, after a year and a half, Judge Hogan started turning his mindset and started saying, hey, government, you can't do this. And so that is when certain evidence started being released. We were the ones that fought for the tunnel footage to be released, all the footage from inside of the tunnel. I got that released. I also got all the video from the West Terrace. I was able to get that released as well through my court proceedings, me and Joseph McBride. So we worked really hard on that. It cost a lot of money, but I have a business that was able to take care of me during that time that I built 10, 11 years ago that supported me during this. And so my wife worked hard. She stood firm by me. She knew that I was innocent. She believed me, and we proved that. And that's exactly what happened. Yes, sir. Oh, just real quick, I don't mean to stop you. To finish answering your questions, though, I don't believe anybody right now is going to release your 44,000 hours, the 44,000 hours. If I get in, I'm going to make a big deal about that. I've been making a big deal about it, and I'm going to continue, because when you see the rest of the footage is not selectively edited, you're gonna be mad. You're gonna say, I was lied to knowingly. The government knowingly lied to me. Yes, sir.
Just for clarification, you said earlier that you had evidence that you were entrapped, but you can't release it because you've been charged. What would they charge you with at that time?
Oh, okay, so some of these would be like 302s, witness statements from the FBI. So what happened, I'll just tell you this one. I don't know how they did it, why they did it, but the FBI left an unredacted witness statement in my original evidence that they gave to me. And I didn't get any evidence until like 7, 8, 9 months after being locked up. I just sat there for 9 months before getting evidence. When I did, there was a lot, but I skimmed through it. I'm in solitary confinement. I have nothing else to do. And I went through and I found a guy's name that I knew, and he started saying things. At first, I found the redacted one, then I found the unredacted one later. But the redacted one, I was like, that could only be one person right there. I know everything on there. And then sure enough, I found the unredacted version, had his name on there, and it was Marcus DiPiola. Marcus was a White House correspondent at once, and Marcus also was there on January 6th working as a reporter, never indicted, but was at all the breaches, took all of the footage that day that was used against us, and he was never indicted. So there's things like that I want to release, but they're like, you can't release 302s and stuff that was within your evidence, or it's like a 5-year penalty. So, but I know as a congressman, I can go release that. Or I can fight to get that released. Right now I can't get a response from Moran on anything. I would reach out to my congressman about it, but he's nowhere to be found. If Louis Gohmert, I'll answer your question in just a second. If Louis Gohmert was still in office right now, I wouldn't be running. I wouldn't be doing this. He came to the jail and saw me. He wrote me a letter. He said, if they open this, you let me know. When I got it, it was opened. And I called him and let him know. And he was up there with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz coming through those doors and came through and saw me. And so if he was doing this, if he was still in office, I wouldn't be running. But you've got somebody in there that, I know plenty of other congressmen that were sitting there in the prisons when their guys got out. The president just pardoned us. My family, my mom and dad have reached out to his office. My wife has reached out to his office. We can't get any response back. And my due process rights, my constitutional rights were being obviously violated. The President of the United States was talking about it, and the incumbent president was talking about it, and you did nothing, and so that's a problem, and I want to solve that. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm not advocating for it, but what if the footage accidentally leaked onto the internet from an anonymous source?
So that's a great question right there. that happened before. And so have y'all ever heard of a cell block in jail getting raided by the FBI? Ours did. Okay, the FBI raided our cell block because we had the evidence, the 44,000 hours, and guys were doing this. They were going out. We had military special forces guys that were doing Morse code and everything else. Beep, 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 and sending out URLs to people. Yeah, that's right, Morse code, and getting messages out to people, writing hidden messages to other special forces guys, passwords and everything else, and people were logging into this evidence off of evidence.com from all across the nation. Next thing you know, the FBI figures out what's going on, the counterterrorism task force, and they're raiding our cell block, throwing guys up against the wall, handcuffing them, running in, grabbing all your evidence, which is supposed to be a Sixth Amendment violation. That's attorney-client privilege. Okay, but they go in and grab all your evidence and run out with it, never to see it again. So guys did that, and the FBI ran down on us. And so you can, these people are, the feds are nobody to play with. I know, like, dealing with them the last 4 years. 5 years ago, I would have not believed it and like really downplayed, it's not a big deal, it's feds. No, these people are nothing to play with. And that's why I know that these agencies have too much power, they have too much oversight, and they need to be dismantled, and that's exactly what my intention is. Anybody else have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Specifically, tell me what about Moran makes it need to be replaced?
All right. So,
I was just about to say, it sounds like we're out of questions, so start the campaign now.
all right. So, to answer your question, what did he do on Memorial Day? Did anybody hear him give any speech? What did your president do on Memorial Day? What did your vice president do? What did leaders of Congress do? What are you supposed to be doing out on Veterans Day? You should be holding a parade. Okay, we should be out honoring our veterans. I'm a veteran. I served in the United States Marine Corps. Who else in here is a veteran? All right. We got some veterans in here. If you're not a veteran, does people that are not veterans have people in their family that are veterans? Yes. Okay, that has to do with everyone. Do you know that Congressman Moran went to the military academy?
2 years.
For 2 years. Do you know what it takes to get into the military academy? What does it take?
Congressional.
That's correct. A congressional appointment. And who?
Or a direct appointment if you're a Medal of Honor son.
That's correct. And so who could have gave that to him? Start doing your research and seeing who connected to the family of the Morans could have given that to him. I don't want to sit up here and be speculative, okay, because I haven't done all my research, but all I can do is start pointing you in the correct direction. I know he dropped out after 2 years, and he went to Texas Tech. And you know what he did at Texas Tech? Who knows what he did at Texas Tech? He majored in Russian.
He's a linguist.
He ma- That's right. And then he became an attorney. And then, when did he really get into being a judge and city council? When did that happen? What years? 2016, 2017, 2018? Time frame starting to make sense a little bit to you? Who else speaks Russian? Ukraine? Yeah? All right. Starting to draw the conclusions. Who did he vote to give $150 billion to last year? Ukraine? Okay. What did he do for our border? Nothing. Okay. Do you know that he voted against Social Security cuts last year? Do you know he voted against the military pay raise last year? Why wasn't he doing anything on Memorial Day? Was he kicked out of the military academy? Does he have something against the military? Is he a spy? We don't know. But I guarantee you, I'm trying to ask those questions because if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, what I've learned from being in D.C. around these evil people is it's a duck.
What's his specialty as a lawyer, do you know?
I think it was a civil... go ahead.
Petroleum law.
Ah, see, I didn't know that. Petroleum law. And so...
He deals only with the Russian petroleum law.
I didn't know that. Russian petroleum.
An intelligence officer.
You are an intelligence officer? Well, then I need to speak with you after this. Okay, so...
We got the shit on this boy, let me tell you.
Yeah, I want to talk with you. So I've been speaking with some other members of local government around here, I think he's trying to take y'all's land. I think they're trying to do eminent domain and take your land up here.
They are.
And I can kind of prove that, and I'm about to put out my next East Texas Spotlight video, but I'm able to put this together, and I'm like, this guy is evil. And you know, when I went and saw, he can say his name is Jalem, looks like Halam to me. You're acting like a Halam to me. You're not acting like America First. When I go down there and I ask you about these things, you know what he said about y'all? You know what he said about y'all when I asked him about Bowie County? Oh, that's a rural area. And he's going to deny it, but I've got him on hot mic saying it. So when he denies it, I'm going to bust him with it. Okay? I'm not playing with these people. I don't like these people. These people tried to kill me. They tried to take my life from me. I've had 4 attempts on my life over the last 12 months in the BOP for what I know about the confidential human sources. Okay? I have dealt with people trying to kill me. I have watched guys lose their life. I have watched stabbings, attempted murders. My first day in the BOP, I watched an attempted murder happen. Okay, I just came from hell. You are getting taken advantage of. I got taken advantage of. And it's time for it to stop. Doji, I don't know. Look, I kind of think what's going on with President Trump and Elon right now, I think they're playing a game right now. I think they're playing a big game with people. I think it's the biggest game of chess that you've ever seen in your life. You got the Democrats right now screaming to release the Epstein files. Oh, well. Okay, do you really think the 2 of the most powerful, richest men in the world just parted ways the other day after having the most successful campaign, and all of a sudden they crashed out on each other? No. Now, everybody else thinks that, but you and I, we're all smarter than that, right? We can see right through that. Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. So my intention, look, I guess it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Second Amendment, I'm for it. Okay, I served in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years honorably. My dad also served for 4 years honorably in the Marine Corps as well. All right, your gun rights, I'm going to fight for them. When it comes to abortion, I'm for the unborn. Okay, I do not, I have 2 children of my own. They wanted me, the doctors, I was in Camp Pendleton, California on the Marine Corps base, and the doctors wanted us to abort our baby because they were saying that something was going to be wrong. He was going to be autistic. That boy just turned 11 a couple of weeks ago, and I could have never thought about aborting that child. And so abortion, I'm not dealing with that. The border, we're going to secure the border. I'm going to vote for that. Giving money overseas to everybody else, we're not doing that. Okay, and another thing that I want to do, who knows about DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency? Okay, everybody kind of knows about the...
Everybody knows about that.
Right, and I'd be... I'd look at you kind of crazy if you didn't, but I know some people might not. Do you heard that Eastman just had a contract that was canceled, Eastman Chemical in Longview, correct? They had a $375 million contract that was canceled. Now, a lot of people are up in arms about that. And I'm saying, well, what's the big deal? You wanted federal contracts to be canceled. The Department of Energy came out and canceled it. I believe it's Chris Wright is the secretary, the energy secretary. And if I'm mistaken, you can correct me on that, but he comes out and he says, yeah, we are canceling these contracts because I believe it was 20 out of 26 of them were created between election night and January 20th. Right here in our own backyard, $375 million. Now look, I'm not saying that we have to just completely cut people off and cut jobs off. I'm all for jobs. But I am saying that if you only need $3 million out of $375 million, that's your and I hard-earned tax money just going to line their pockets, their slush funds, their generational road working funds. Okay, that's what those are. Okay, I mean, what else could it be? You just work on a road forever? No, it's just your buddies and you're paying them forever.
Yeah, many of those contracts are 2 and 3 level pass-throughs.
Right.
So the actual contractor is getting a fraction of the contract with the other middlemen.
Right.
taking the bulk of the money.
And so what I want to do is I want to create the East Texas Department of Government Efficiency. And I want to audit every government agency here, every federal government agency, every state agency that takes federal funds, every private and public business that takes federal funds. If you're a church or a nonprofit organization, if you take federal funds, we're going to look at the books. We're going to make sure you're doing the right thing with the money and giving it where you say you're supposed to, where it's going to go.
How about our state colleges and our
Everything.
schools? They take a lot of federal money.
Schools, college, everything. If you take federal money, even through like a second or third channel, I'm going to come audit you.
Is your degree in accounting? Because we need accountants as the Congress people.
Sir, I don't have a degree at all, and so, but I do have a successful wholesale and retail company in Longview. It's called Wholesale Universe. I have anywhere between 50 to 100 employees. We do around $1 to $3 million a month in sales. I've been in business since July 27, 2015. Like President Trump, I'm a businessman, and so I didn't go to college, but I went to the School of Hard Knocks, and I
You
know.
know how to talk to an accountant or a CPA.
That's exactly right. So I don't know how to do it, but I know how to go find the people that do know how to do that. I'm not an expert in it. What I am is I'm your hammer and I'm your tool. When you want something done, you use me. I go find the people that know how to do it, and then I go back and I get it done. That's what I want to do. Yes, ma'am.
I assume that you know who Cloward and Pippin are?
Say it again, ma'am.
Cloward and Pippin?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Theories? Okay. It's just overwhelm the system until it breaks, which is, I think, exactly what they're doing to America with lots of things. But here in Northeast Texas, we've got all the solar farms, we've got Ryan Nichols trying to take our water. We now have the high capacity wells that are trying to come in. But I think on top of all of that, we have the geoengineering of our weather that's really changing everything around here. I mean, you can tell just if you do a backyard garden, you can tell everything is different. Plus the microplastics that are coming down from the seeding. So as a congressman, and I don't know, I know that's another thing that everybody says that's just conspiracies, but it's not. But it's just layer upon layer upon layer.
Right.
So as a congressman, what are your thoughts on the kinds of things that we need to do to really get America back to being America?
That's a great question, and I'm glad that you asked that. When I started running, I remember laying in bed a lot of nights, and I'll scroll, Facebook or X or TikTok or whatever it may be, and looking at these videos and seeing like all the crazy stuff that's happening. And I feel a lot that they wanted to take TikTok and X and things like that away because it was getting real information out there. So when I started seeing these things, I started wondering, is it real or not? After being in that DC jail and seeing some of the guys that came through, because there was, quite a few different characters that came through, getting to talk to people and dealing with guys that had different backgrounds everywhere else, and then just being in DC and being through the federal system and seeing some of the guys that were in prison, and then also just seeing what's going on. I want this to be a campaign. This is not about me. I want to go peel back the veil on everything. I know there's everybody has questions like, what happened to Kennedy? What happened to this? What happened to that? What happened on January 6th? What's going on with water? What's going on with the sun? What's going on with outer space? What's going on with Mars? And they're trying to go, do this and do that. That's what I want to go up there for too. I want these same answers that you do. So what I would like to do is go to Washington, D.C. and peel back the veil so we can all get a look at the Wizard of Oz. Because I want to see behind the curtain. And so that's really why I'm going up there and what I want to do. So I don't have those answers, but I'm going to go find them, and I can do that with your help.
Okay, so you can have the last question because I know you're fairly responsible. But we know a lot of different conspiracy theories. If
Yes, sir.
everybody asks about their favorite conspiracy theory, we'll be here till, we have to leave at 8 because they close. So we're gonna skip ahead. Okay, go ahead and ask your question.
Here's what I worry about, and I'm not trying to poo-poo in the party here, but this is red meat for all of us here, and we like it. But there's layers when you get there, and you said if you don't do it, come back here. But as we've seen, Moran, he's now hard to get back here, and he's
Right.
now hard to reel back in. So I like everything you said. What I worry about is I don't want somebody to get to the place of running for student council and promising a free Coke machine in every classroom.
Right.
And so how do you manage expectations with reality to set us up for success so that we see what's happening? Does that make sense?
100% it makes sense. And so, I'm glad that you asked that. This is it was really I was really nervous to come up here. You know, it was nerve-wracking for me. And I got up here. I'm comfortable doing this. After I get up here and start doing this, I've been on national news before. I was on the Ellen DeGeneres show. I was on the Weather Channel. I've sat in front of crowds before and spoke in New York and Las Vegas. I did that. It's nerve-wracking for me now because this is the first crowd that I'm talking to coming out of solitary confinement. I'm used to just being by myself. And so I'm going to be able to show up and really, I would say, put on a performance that you haven't seen before. Okay, I'm bringing energy to Congress. I didn't know if you were...
This is one of the things we talked about. I'm his chief of staff.
Yeah.
Okay? And I told him, I said, one of the things that you're going to do is answer phone calls.
Yeah.
You're going to answer emails, or your staff is. They're going to come find, and I can show you the text message. So I said,
I have no reason.
if they don't do it, they're fired.
Right.
We'll find somebody that will do that job because TX01 has questions. Okay? And the only way that Moran can't possibly get all the phones, but his staff can.
His staff doesn't get on the phone.
His staff doesn't get on the phone, right?
And I remembered your question now. I almost got...
His will.
So what I
His
was
will,
saying is
because
I've been
I'll
doing this
fire.
long before this. I have a business. I have clients that are up my rear end.
You're already accountable.
I'm already accountable. I'm online everywhere. I've been doing this long before January 6th. This isn't the first time that I've gotten out in public before. Okay, so I have to come back home and see all of y'all. I grew up in Karnak, Texas. I went to Wascom High School and Wascom Elementary and Wascom Middle School. Then I graduated from Arlington, Texas. I live in Longview right there. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going back down there to Smith County either and disappearing with all the rest of the elite rhinos either. Okay, I live right among you. I'm going to come up here. I've been doing that long before this, and I'm going to be doing that long after this. And if it's only for 2 years, it's 2 years. If it's longer than that, it's longer for that. I believe in term limits. I don't think that we should be in forever. And so, you know, that's just another thing. Sorry, the reason that it took me a second, I kind of got brain fog, and that's just another problem with solitary confinement. It still messes with me for a second. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I was gonna ask about term limits.
Yeah, and I agree with term limits. I don't know how long that looks. I don't know what that looks like. Really, that's up to you to vote on. You know, I am just the person to go up there and do it. But I would like to hear about that. Sorry, I know I'm running a little longer.
I mean, we're ambivalent on term limits. We want the crappy ones out now, but the ones that are good, they should stay. Our founding fathers were against term limits for that reason. Ron Paul was in there for, what, 30 years? And nobody wanted him to leave, except the people that hated him. I mean, they didn't like what he was doing, but his constituents loved him.
Right.
Anyway, so we have a second guest tonight.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it, ladies and gents.